All right, you guys, I wanted to first talk about relative linking and linking. I know a lot of students in here have been having issues with linking certain files up, and we're going to do a little practice on this. Okay, so this slash is going to indicate our root folder. That might be on our hosting. When you guys log in, sometimes you'll have a bunch of folders and files you don't recognize, but we have the public _ HTML folder often, right? And that's what we've been dumping our, well, you guys have been putting in your like Dixie 7 / index.html, right? But if you really went to your domain name.com / index.html, this would pull the root file and just show your web page. So if you go to facebook.com, it's really just pulling that index file that's just sitting on the root folder. And in this case, in our servers, I think it's the public _ HTML folder. And typically it's something like that. Sometimes it's public, sometimes it's HTML. Just depends on the server, but I think what we've been doing looks something like that, right? So when I call out just a slash or I say root, this is the folder I'm really meaning. And essentially, you know, it's going to be, you know, mathsworld.com / and I might have an index.html there. And so I'm going to put in here index.html, and maybe we had another file called style.css, and in that we might have like an image, monkey.jpg, but we probably also have another directory in there. And so I'm going to go / and maybe we'll make a directory called you know, stuff, something like that, right? And instead of stuff, I'm going to have another folder called index.html. We could make another style.css. We could also do another folder called / I don't know, folder. I'm really creative today, guys. And this, let's put another file in here. We're going to call this one index.html. We'll have an image in here called dude.jpg. And you know, while I'm at it, let's do another folder here called things. We'll have an index.html in there. We'll have another folder called, I don't know, products or something like that. They're called index.html, and let's go with that, okay? So if I had mathsworld.com and I wanted to go to this file, is this an appropriate URL right here to go there? Does that work? Okay, does that look good? Is anybody in disagreements? Okay, how about that? Who thinks that's going to work? Throw up a hand if you like that. That's still going to go to the same file right here. Throw them up. Okay, who thinks no? False. It's not going to go. Okay, there's a whole lot of non-participation going on here. Come on, guys, get your hands up. Who's in agreement? Go. 4. Not. Come on, you don't second guess yourself. You said it. Well, you're wrong. Just kidding. No, this, and why does this go there? What do you think, Eric? It does. Like, it really would. Both of these, that or the last one, do both go here. So why does that happen? Can you guys tell me why?
It's the automatic home page.
It's the default file. It looks for an index.html. If it's not there, it's automatically going to put it there and go there, I guess is what I should say. Does that make sense, Eric? All right. So you really need an index.html in every single folder in order to make this happen. All right. So Megan, based on what you know right now, right? That's your name, Megan? Or no? Yeah. Okay, you weren't looking, so I was. Oh, Rebecca. Who's Megan?
I
I don't know who Megan is. All right, I'll call you Megan anyways. Rebecca, but it's I know your last name though. All right, Rebecca, I'm sorry. I called you Megan before, and then you answered, and then I just make up names. I've got a Dakota in the back, right? Did I call you Eric? I know your last. Oh, I know you, Sam, right? There you go. See, I'm getting it. That's funny. You guys should call me something else sometime. All right, Rebecca, I'm not going to make this mistake again. I want to go from this file, okay, pretend that I'm creating a link, okay, and my link's going to look something like this, and I'm going to link from, index over to monkey.jpg. Let's go there. What do I type right here?
It's kind of like doing how we did the images where I don't remember how I did the image, but I think you just do like the folder and then.
Okay, so what's the folder?
Is it in a folder?
It's in the root folder right now. It's in this one. You can see those 3 files are inside of this. I mean, all these stuff and things are in here too. And maybe it'd look better if I actually push these back so you guys can kind of see that stuff is equal to these, but it contains its own stuff in there.
Yeah, so usually I just look it up. And so you just do like image source.
Okay. Well, that's if we're doing an image, but I'm just going to link to the image. And this is okay. Don't worry about the tag. All I'm worrying about is this text right here that I would put in there. Claire, can you help her out? Okay, like that? Yeah, like how she answered that in the form of a question. Brandon, you're saying no? Okay. Does anybody want to fix that anymore? Or are you guys liking it? Hannah, what do you think? You're not paying attention, so we'll pick on you. Okay, but is there anything else we're missing in here? Or is this looking good to you? We're going from this file to that file. So currently we're in here, so start there and link to this one. Yeah.
So index.html/monkey.jpg.
Okay, so like that, you're thinking?
Well, or you could do the website name. I think would probably be better.
Okay, so like Web1400 or something, or matsworld.com.
Yeah, so automatically goes to the home page and then /monkey.
Okay, so we could do that. I wouldn't say that's the best way. This is what we call an absolute link. Okay, and really the only time you do absolutes are if you're changing a domain name and leaving somewhere else. You're going out to Google, you're going out to Amazon, you're linking out to another domain name. So I am not going to go with that. Does anybody else like anything else, or are you guys good with this? Who thinks it's good? You like it, or you got a comment? You don't like it? What should we do to it?
Doesn't like a period kind of say that you're in the current directory and you put /?
We'll get to some stuff with that, but this is actually the right way, guys. Okay, I was just seeing if you guys would second guess yourself. Okay, you do need that .jpg. It won't work unless you have the file extension. But if I'm starting here and linking to that, this is an appropriate way. Okay, everybody good with that? All right, now we're gonna change it up.
Is that where you put your alt tag?
Alt tags are only for image tags, and this is not an image tag. So alt tags, if it was an image tag, then I would say alternate description, and I would say it's a picture of a monkey or something. But a link tag really is going to go out to links and to images or to whatever I want. Okay, so let's start here. Sam, you're not paying attention, so we're going to pick on you. Okay. All right, I want you to link to this file right here. So start here, link to that CSS file right there.
So what do you do? /stuff/style CSS.
Okay, who likes that? Who doesn't like that then? You guys are needed participants. Just take a guess. Like, let's just go, okay? don't be afraid. What do you guys say? Who likes it? Throw a hand up. Who dislikes it? No likey. Okay, do you guys know what that slash actually denotes? That denotes root. And sometimes on your server, root is your domain name, and that's great. But sometimes it's not. And the case of when you guys log into your servers, remember how it went to like slash and it had like CGI-bin and a public underscore HTML and backups and all these other weird things. If you do a slash right here, it goes to the root of your server and not to necessarily the root of your domain name. And so no, you don't want to do that. Okay? You just want to say stuff and denote that directory /style.css, and that's the appropriate way. So let's try again. This time we're going to go to this file right here. Brandon, we'll pick on you. You're not paying attention, so you give me what you think right there. Okay? Starting here, we're linking to this one. Go. Okay, oops. You guys liking that? Okay. Are you guys liking that? Lee, what do you think? Will that work, Lee? Based on what we've told you thus far, starting here, going to this file, will this work right here? Here's the thing, guys. For your final exam, okay, big chunk of your grade, huge chunk of your grade, I literally am going to give you folder structure like this, and you have to link in and out of each file and folder. And if you do not know how to do this, you will lose significant points, and your images and your CSS and your various items just won't work. They won't work because you'll be linking out to a file or something, and you won't know how to do the structure. So everybody has to master this, or again, at the final exam, you guys are going to run into some problems with this, okay? So Lee, you digging this one, or you not digging this one? Based on what I've told you thus far, would that work? It's going to an index.html file. Yeah, this, again, is the default file, right? And so if you do not specify, if I just say stuff even, it will automatically put in index.html right here. Okay? Everybody good with that? All right. We'll go back to Sam again. His eyes are on the computer, so we'll pick on him. All right, Sam, let's start inside of, let's keep here. Let's link out to this one right here. Okay? Do I need the index? No. Would that work right there? Yeah, it would. Okay.
So would you lose points for putting index?
No, it wouldn't matter. It'd work. As long as the link works, that's really what matters most. Hannah.
So you just go biggest to smallest until you get to it?
Yeah, you just feed up through the directories. Just like if I was clicking on a directory and going into one after the other after another, that's how you do it, okay? All right, now we're going to change things and make it really goofy, and I haven't taught you this yet. At this point, you guys should know already how to do all of that, okay? That's stuff we've talked about. All right, this time, I'm going to start here, and I'm going to link out to monkey.jpg, okay? We're starting here. We're inside of a stuff directory, and we're going back to a monkey.jpg directory. Does anybody know the syntax to do that? Okay, the way we do this is a .. slash. The .. slash denotes to kind of go back. Okay, so with that .. slash, we are going back to root. And then what would I type in here? Monkey.jpg. Does everybody make sense of that? Okay, so this is all relative linking. Yeah, and again, we talked about absolute links with http://, right? These are relative links that are based relative on the location of where the file currently is. Okay. All right, let's take that out. let's do this. We are going to start at this index file right here. And let's reference out this style.css. Garrett, right? Let's have you do it. Okay, go for it. You should come up front more. Yeah. Okay, so we're going right here at this index.html, and we're going to the style.css right there. So let me have it. What do you think? Okay, help them out, guys. Okay, dot slash. What does that do? Goes back a directory. Now what? Okay, dot slash. You guys liking that? So we started here. Dot slash got us into stuff. Dot slash got us back into here. And then what? What's last? Style.css is, yeah.
Why would you use this? Can you not go back and forth between your links?
Well, I mean, this is in here. Let's say I had all this directory structure, and this is where I put my CSS. You know, I'd have to link to my CSS in order to pull from this, right, to get that style. But if it's in a different directory structure, now most of you guys are not going to have these problems. But when you get into sites with lots and lots and lots of files, you need to organize them, right? You need to know how to move in and out. And this is a little bit extreme, you know, doing a dot slash and so forth. But it does happen, you know, and you need to understand how to go in and out. And so that's why we're doing it. So let's take it to the extreme, all right? We're going to start here. We're going to end there. Who should we pick on who's not paying attention? Brandon, your eyes are down. Let's pick on you again. Okay, starting here, we're ending here. This is your final test. Starting up here. Inside of the folder called folder.
/things/product.
Sorry, slow up.
/things.
/things, like this.
/products.
Okay, you guys liking that? Who likes it? Anybody with them? Stand with Brandon. Hashtag stand with Brandon. No, that wouldn't work. This slash should first denote the root folder of the server. So that's a file or a folder, a directory that we can't access. And then number two, this folder doesn't exist inside of that root of the server. That's not root of our web server. That's root of the entire server. Okay, think of like if you're on Windows, this is your C directory. You just went all the way back to C:// you know, and everything. So that does not work, Brandon. Sorry, buddy. Anybody else want to take a shot at it? Landon? Dot slash. And why dot slash? Okay, so we're up here and we need to go back a directory. So if we go back, we're all of a sudden in stuff now, right? Everybody with me? Okay, now what? Okay, so that takes us back to root. Now we're over here. Okay, good. Now what? So now we go into things. Because we're here. And we're right. We could leave it and that would pull up the index.html right here. But let's keep going. There's still more. Who wants to Lee?
Oh, weird. Oh, yeah.
Products / now would that work right there? Could we stop right here and be valid? Yeah, totally could, because this is called index, right? / and to be more specific, we could say index.html.
So we don't need a slash.
You don't have to have it. You could say that, or you could say that. Either one works.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, but you could do this, and that's a valid link right there. Hannah.
Do you ever start with a slash?
Right here? No, because it denotes the root of the server again, not the root of my domain name. And sometimes they're the same. Depends on how the server's set up. But most of the time they're not. Okay?
So you always want to go back to the very beginning if you're
If you yeah, because you can't jump through. You have to back out to go back in. Okay? Everybody good with that?
Wait, so what if you were to start with a slash and then just go straight to things?
Well, again, think of it like this. And most of you guys aren't familiar with Linux, and so I'll just use, something like this. And if I had documents, and settings, right? Isn't that how it goes? And then, is it user? Oh, no. It's users. Is that how the directory goes in Windows? Is that right? / desktop. And let's say I had a directory on my desktop called web, okay? And inside of web, I had, my index, and I had style, and I had monkey, and I had stuff, and I had all of this right here, and this was really /web, okay? If I came over here and I said denote / things, really what it's looking for is C:/things. Is things inside of C right now? Does that exist? It doesn't. It exists inside of web, all the way up here. So if you start off with a /, you're breaking it. You're trying to say, go to a file that I probably don't have permissions to, and doesn't exist. So you have to base it off of the location of the current one. Now again, like I said, sometimes servers are set up to work that way, not all the time. So it's better in this case to leave out, do not start with a /. Just start out with, things / whatever, or a ... / things, and so forth, and move your way that way. Okay? Everybody good with that? All right, we're going to learn about a new kind of link right now, and this is called a fragmented link identifier. We'll go out to, we got Stranger Things here, so we're going to go out to Wikipedia here. And you guys may have seen things like this where I can come into a site, maybe I have a table of contents here and I want to go to Beyond Stranger Things, and so I click on that and it jumped down to that section of the page. So we're linking not to just a page, but literally a portion of the page. And one thing that's unique about this that changed, okay, so if I go back, do you guys see anything changing besides the content of the page right here? You guys see it? It's right here, okay? It's got this little hashtag, Beyond Stranger Things. And if I go look specifically in that section of the page, you'll see I've got this ID here, Beyond Stranger Things. So we can link to specific IDs on a page. So if I've got visual effects here, and I inspect that, and I see that they've got an ID called visual effects right there, and we go back up to the top of the page, and I do a hashtag visual effects, I can jump specifically to that section of the site. So anytime now I have a link, I could actually go out and say hashtag visual effects on my index.html if I had that ID specified. Now, are you guys seeing why IDs can only be used once on a page? Okay, that's one of the reasons, one of many reasons why IDs are only allowed on there one time. Because if this was a class, and I had something like that, like what are you jumping to? Like what are you linking to? Because there could be multiple visual effects. And so we're going out to that ID, and that's what we call a fragmented link identifier. So any portion of a page is really easy to link to. Now I told you guys before, there are times where we want to link out to specific parts on a page, specific pages. Now this is, our cast and characters for Wikipedia. And if I go back here, we have our characters. And to link out to that page, I use, again, like I talked about, an absolute link. An absolute link starts out with an http:// and links out. So we're using that fragmented link identifier with an absolute to go there. Now, because I'm leaving our site, I don't really want people to, have to, go back to our page to see our page. So we're going to use something else where it's going to open a new tab. And we're going to do a target equals _ blank. And this is a attribute we can add. So, we have like hrefs and, targets. And, if you think in image tags, we had like height and width and source and alt tags. Those are all attributes of an HTML tag. And this one is just going to link out to, so when I click on characters, you'll notice it didn't close our tab, but it did open up a new tab and load that. So this is really great. So if you guys are going to link out to other domain names, use a target underscore blank to open a new tab. Does that make sense? Let's see here. Let's talk about another type of link. Let's go to contact here. Okay. My contact, let's have it where if somebody calls this. Okay, like first off, do you guys remember the mail to link we used? Okay, and we said mail to curl@dixie.edu. And if I click on that, you know, it'll try to launch the default mail client, and I don't see that happening right now. Maybe it didn't save. Oh, there it goes. So mail just opened really quickly and closed, but I don't have it configured, so it's not going to work. But if I did have a mail client configured, that would open up that, you know, mail or Gmail, whatever I've got configured on this computer, but I don't right now. A lot of people like to do telephones. So if I do tel 435 555 5555 or something like that, and I put that tel in front of it, if I am on a mobile device and I click on that contact, do you see how it's trying to open FaceTime right now? It's because FaceTime is actually configured to make those calls out to that number. But if you guys pull this up on your mobile device right now, it will literally pull up your phone dialer and pre-populate that with a telephone number. So you can use tel to do that. If you want to do a text message, you can do an SMS. And if I save that and do that, and you click on it, it will bring up your text messaging program. In this case, it's trying to open messages now. Do you guys see that? And pre-populate that number as well in there. So you can use telephone, tel, or SMS to do those things, which is kind of cool. I'm going to quickly go over sprites. Sprites, I don't think are crucial to learn, but they're a thing of the past. Think Google or Apple or Amazon, you know, where they're getting countless amounts of traffic every day, right? Tons and tons of hits. If they were to take their homepage and add an extra image to that homepage, how much more bandwidth is that really going to add to their monthly bill? Do you think they think about stuff like that? Even like one single image, do you think that that would make a major impact on the amount of money spent? Because you have so much traffic coming to your site? You guys with me? Okay, it's gonna take a lot, right? Do you think if they add an extra image, it's gonna slow their site down just a little bit more because you have to download that many more images? Sprites were a way to kind of help with that. And again, I don't think anybody in here is going to have that issue, but this is one image. This is not three images next to each other, okay? And we're going to take that one image and we're going to say, show part of that image. Don't show the whole thing. Only show the house, or only show the arrow, or only show the other arrow. And if I come in here and I say my width is going to be 146, for example, you can see the rest of those images that are kind of being masked behind on the sprite. The reason they do that is they say, if I take three images and each one is 50 KB, kilobits or whatever, that's going to be 150 to download all three, right? But if I combine them in one, because this image has multiple greens and this one has multiple greens, it can probably save some file size. So this one together might only be 80 KB or something like that together. So I can use a sprite to say, go pull up the background image, start at pixel 0.0, go down go down 46 pixels, go across 46 pixels and go down 44, and that shows that section of the house. And if I want to show an arrow, start at -91, so it goes over, and 0, and then show 43 and 44, and it shows that portion of the image. So again, I'm not going to have you implement any of that, but it's important to know what sprites do and why we use them. The book goes into something called a 3-column layout. I'm not going to get into this so much because I don't really like them. I don't know, that's more of a personal preference, and I don't really like them. I mean, 3 columns is fine here, but we normally implement this another way than how the book talks about. But typically, if you're doing complete websites in 3 columns, they tend to get a little bit more crowded, and so I'm not crazy about 3-column. That's a good example of 3-column right there. It just ends up being a little too much content in there, and you have to be careful if you're going to be doing 3-column layout. But the better way of doing these would be, if I've got 3 columns here, I would wrap each one of these in a div, and I would float one to the left, and float one to the left, and float one to the left, and clear it. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? It's a better approach. So you just take 3 divs and you stack them, just floated. So if this one is floated and I put some text after it, the text would show up over here, right? But if I put another float after it, it's going to show up here, and it's going to let the next item come to its side. And I'm going to put another float right there. And that's really the better way of doing it, even though the book shows you a way with margins and float one right and one left. I like to stack. And there's a lot of mobility reasons on why, but we're not going to get so much into it. All right, so next thing we're going to talk about is printing. Okay, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to take this style sheet and I'm going to put another one underneath it. I'm going to call it print.css, and I'm going to add a new piece of code in here called media, and I think we talked about it at the beginning. And media allows us to determine what kind of media we're on. And in this case, I'm going to say, if I'm on a screen, pull up style.css. Say media equals print, then pull up this CSS. All right? Now, that would work. To make this totally work, I would genuinely have to go in here and create another file called print.css. And if I wanted to look the same, I would have to open up my style here. Sorry, let's close that one down. And I would have to copy all of this CSS and paste it here, and then make changes to make sure it worked when I go to print. Okay? That's a lot of CSS that I have to download every page. I think it would be easier to say, load all of this, and if we need to change anything over here. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to say, on this media, we're going to change this over to all. So screens and print jobs are going to get my CSS. And then rather than go through and reload a fresh page of our print, I'm going to just delete all this out, and we're going to make changes to it that are appropriate. So if let's move this back over here, and I look on my page, and if I was printing this page, do you guys feel the need to print our navigation? Is that dumb? I mean, should we really do it? So what I need to do is go over to my nav, and I'm going to say nav, display it as none. So now let's look at that. We're going to come up here, we'll refresh our page, I'll print my page, and we'll look at the print preview, and you guys see how the navigation is now gone. And has our top little section up here and a few other things, and we could try to print the background graphics. You can see how that comes on and off. I really should get rid of my box. I don't know what we were doing with that. Where's that box? Div ID box. We'll get rid of that bad boy there. Okay. And what other elements do you guys feel we don't really need in here? Do we need this big background image or even our header, or are we really wanting just this article? Just article. Okay. So let's do that. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to look at my sidebar we may not need. Our header we don't need. So we'll go back. I'm going to take print over to this side. I'm going to say comma. You guys, do you remember what the comma means? It means and. Okay. So we're going to say our sidebar, our header, our footer, our nav's gone, our hero image, we'll do a comma, hero's going to be gone. We'll leave our wrapper, but our wrapper now we're going to say is going to have a width of 100%. So it spans all the way out. Our sidebar's gone. Our main is going to be on there, fine. And we could probably also say that main is also going to have a width of 100%. So I'll put main in there. So, because before our sidebar took like 33% and our other side took like 66%. So our main is just going to span everything out. And our footer I think I turned off as well. So if I look at that really quick, we pull that up, we print that, it should just give us the article in full width now, and you can see that right there. Okay? You guys good with that? All right. All right, let's have a talk on mobile phones. So Rebecca, you got a smartphone right there next to you? Tell me what the differences are between the desktop in front of you and surfing on your mobile device. Screen size, obviously huge, right? So will this page look the same on your mobile device? I mean, it could right now. If you pull it up, if you guys literally pull it up right at this point, you've got to pinch and squeeze, right? Okay, it's going to come up and the text is going to be really tiny and the image probably really wide, and you're going to have to pinch and squeeze in order to actually read it. Okay, we don't want to. Anything else that might be different between that computer and your phone right there? Well, not if we have to pinch and squeeze right now, because right now we're just pinching and squeezing. Anything else you guys can think of? Yeah.
For one orientation, desktops are usually landscape and mobile phones are portrait.
Okay. All right, that's good. So how would I change my images? Like what kinds of things would I do to this page here? If I wanted this to be mobile, what would you guys say would be a good approach? I just turn my monitor sideways, just flip it over. What do you think? Okay, we could just cut that off. It's really easy to see what that might look like because I can do that, right? Okay, so let's do that. Now what can I do to this page to make it more look like a mobile website?
You wouldn't have like your text and image side by side?
Text and image would not go side by side. So do you guys think that maybe taking this image and putting it below the text or above the text would be a better fit? Okay. How about my menu? What would be a better menu here? Like a horizontal menu? Do you guys like that for mobile? No, it's really hard, right? How would this go? A drop-down menu, so I could have a hamburger and these would go vertical, right? Or I could just make them vertical if I wanted to as well. That would also work. Okay, I think those are good suggestions there. How about, I think we talked about this once before. Who has Sprint in here right now? Any Sprint users? Okay, Zach, if you get online right here on campus and you try to surf, how's that? How's Sprint and data? It's horrible, right? I mean, I think if you do a speed test, you're coming in like 0.2, you know, and most everybody else in here, I bet it's at least like 5 megs or something. Maybe some of you are upwards like 20 megs or something like that. Sprint's horrible in St. George. It's really bad. So how would that affect surfing on a desktop versus mobile? Take forever. So what if this was like a video playing here? Is that a good move? If we go out to dixie.edu and we come to the home page, we get this nice video working, right? Okay, do you think that's killing mobile devices? Probably. So if I take this browser in and I go right here, what happened to that video? It's gone. So for a mobile device, maybe that makes sense to get rid of a video. So those are some questions you need to think about yourselves. Does anybody have a flip phone in here still? Just wondering. Does anybody not have a cell phone in here? Just wondering that too. We got to the point where everybody has a does anybody not have a smartphone in this room? Just wondering. It's okay if you don't. No smartphones. Wow, we've arrived. Okay, that's cool. And again, I think we talked about before, but like, do you guys all agree that you surf way more on your phone than you ever do on a computer? Yeah, no question about that. So, do you guys feel like this is a good approach to doing web, building a desktop first and then thinking about mobile after the fact? Or should we really be building towards mobile first and letting desktop be the afterthought? I agree with that. Now, the reason we're doing it this way, honestly, is because it's way easier to learn for you guys. But in all reality, those roles should be reversed. Okay, you should be thinking mobile before you're thinking desktop. And for your client projects, you guys may want to do that. You may want to, I know some of your mock-ups were all desktop for the most part. Some of you guys may want to do your mock-ups in mobile and then think about desktop after the fact and give that a try. But it's up to you guys. It is easier to do desktop first and go down. And for learning's sake, again, we're going to go that direction. But good. Those are good. Another thing you can think about, color count. Some of the older phones don't have as many colors. You are touching the screen with your hands, so you need to make sure your buttons are nice and big on mobile, that they're not little itty bitty tiny links that you have to click on, but like big ones that you can get your big sausage fingers on. Okay. All right, so we're going to get into mobile now. Like I said before, on Rebecca's phone, if we pull the side up, you have to pinch and squeeze to see everything. It's going to try to pull everything in and do its best to view, but it's not bringing things in, at full. Like if it actually brought it in where the text was big enough to read, it's going to cut off this other image on the side. It's going to not look very good. And so what we want to do first off is we want to tell the browser how to view this. And we're going to do this with this meta tag. And this tag needs to be on every single page moving forward. Okay, this is a required tag. Okay, we do a meta, a name equals viewport. And our viewport, you've heard me say this before, is the area that we can see. Okay, now right now the viewport is not the text below the fold. The viewport is literally from this pixel up to that pixel right there. That's our viewport. If I say 100 VH or viewport height, 100% would be from there up to here. All right, everybody make sense of that? So we're going to say we want to look at our viewport. And we're going to say the content within the viewport, we're going to give it a width. And its width is going to equal the device dash width. And then next, we're going to do a little comma. We're going to set the initial scale of the device. And we're going to set that as 1.0, like so. What that means is our scaling. You know how you pinch and squeeze? You can zoom far out and you can zoom far in. If I say, it's going to be 0.5 or 1.5, that's going to change the zooming level of our browser. And we want it to be 1.0. And what that basically means is as you look at a screen from arm length distance, the size of the text should be at its optimum readability size or level, okay? And so the browser is determining that. It looks at your DPI or PPI or how many pixels per inch are in there. It's looking at all these different factors. It's determining that a letter should be maybe like this big or something, and it's going to be different. For my monitor here, it's going to be a certain size. For your mobile desktop, it's going to be a certain size. And then it's going to say, make the width of the website the device width. Meaning, if it's this wide, it's going to take my browser and shove it down to be that wide right there. Does that make sense, you guys? So those are the two things it's doing. It's changing the width of the browser to be that size, and then setting the font to be a very good legible size there. Now, on a desktop, that's going to look exactly as you see it here. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to look any different. But what's going to happen now is we can start using some different what are called media queries. Okay, we got the media tag here to make things look a little bit different for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this file right here, and we're going to put a new one in here called mobile. And we're going to say it's going to be a style sheet with text, CSS, and right here, instead of saying all, we're going to say something like only screen. You know, we could say screen, but it's more specific to say only screens. And maybe we'll loop this around in our attributes here. Okay, so we're going to say only screen, and we'll put in brackets some conditions. The max device width is going to be 900 pixels, something like that. And what that's going to do is it's going to say that my screen, actually not max device width, max width, my screen is, they used to do max device width, but what's going to happen is the way you read this is if the browser is under 900 pixels, or the biggest or the maximum width it can ever go is 900 pixels, then apply our mobile.css styling. Okay, and we could do something like that really easily, where we make a new file, mobile.css, and we add in here a body tag, and we say background color is going to be pink, something like that. So looking on here, it's going to pull our viewport, it's going to pull our current CSS, and then based on some certain conditions, it's going to load in that body pink and, you know, and display that. So I don't know, let's give that a try. And we'll refresh that page, and I'll come in, and it totally didn't work. And it might be max device width. Let me see if I'm crazy. It's one of the two. Or maybe I have the background white. I'm pretty sure it's max width. I love when this doesn't work. It might be that colon. Let me try that. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that totally worked. Maybe it's that colon. I think it was that colon in there. All right, so this is the way you do it. You guys see how that changed pink though? Okay, now honestly, this is not the best approach. A big chunk of the web still runs on HTTP version 1, but we do have some servers now that are moving over to HTTP version 2. And in version 1, every time you call a file, it significantly slows down your server. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that for now. And I'm going to delete this mobile.css file. And we're going to build it all on the same page. That's taking forever. Let's delete that and come back here. And I'm going to open up my own style. And before, if you remember, in my HTML, I would load up my CSS, and then I would override it with the mobile CSS. Okay, we're going to take that same approach where we're going to write out all of our CSS, and after that's all done, we're going to go ahead and add some mobile CSS. And to do that, we're going to use something called an @media query. So we're going to say @media, okay, kind of like we did earlier right here with this media tag, and we're going to say media, something like only screen, and we'll do those quotations. Max width is going to be 900 pixels, something like that. And we're going to do some curly braces. And what this does right here, it says, based on these conditions, if it's on a screen, and I have my browser 900 pixels and less, the maximum size it can be is 900 pixels, then display body, background, color, blue. Okay? And so we'll go back here and refresh this page. And now when I come in, you guys can see how that turns blue. Okay? Now what you should be, gleaming onto right now is if I meet a certain condition, meaning I have a width of a mobile device, I can start making those changes we talked about. I can start making our images move below one another or shift around the screen or do something like that. Yeah?
So what you just showed us in HTML, we won't be using that?
No, I don't like that because you can do that, but it makes multiple calls out and slows your website down. And if I have this print job right here, could I do the same thing with my print? Based on what I told you thus far with these media queries, could you do that with print? You absolutely could. Okay, so we could do another @media only print, something like this. I could go out and grab my print stuff, pull that out, get rid of that file if it saves, and paste that CSS in there like that. And if it goes to a print job, it's going to get all of that CSS there as well. And I don't need this print media query in here. I only need my style now, and it's going to read in everything. And now the most important thing here, guys, is that one, you get the syntax right, unlike I did just a second ago, right? But order matters. Okay, order matters. Meaning I want to make my page look a certain way, and then based on some conditions, make some final adjustments. All right, that's what that means. All right, display everything normal, then make a couple changes. So on my page here, if we wanted to make this mobile friendly, let's have some breakpoints. Our first breakpoint is when it hits that. I don't ever want to see horizontal scroll bars. So for your final projects, everybody take note of that. If I see horizontal scroll bars, you're going to lose points. All right, so I want to come in the second I hit that right there, and I see that bar, I should be making a change, an adjustment. So if I go up and I look at my wrapper right now, my wrapper is 960 pixels. I probably want to change before I hit 960. So I'm going to go up here, I'm going to make a media query. Let's go at 1,000 pixels. I'm going to make my first change. Now we can keep our body background color blue so you guys can visualize this. But I'm going to go up to the top here and I'm going to grab my wrapper code. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come back down here and I'm going to paste it in. And there's certain types of CSS I really need and don't need. Okay. First thing I need to do is I need to change my width. I should probably make that 600 pixels. When I hit that 960, let's just make our wrapper come in a little further. The background color I don't really need. The centering, it's already being centered up above. So do I need to say center again? I don't. So take that out, and that one's taken out. So really the only thing in this case that I need to do is change my wrapper. So let's go look at that really quick. Okay. So big screen, I come in, I hit about 1,000 pixels right there. And if you'll notice, it did make my wrapper 960 pixels wide. Now, the Stranger Things is floated to one side and this is floated to another, and so that looks kind of dumb. right? And so we need to look at those. So in here, we're going to go look up, I have the side tag and the main tag. So we'll go up here and we'll look at main and side, copy those. I'm going to come back down and I'm going to paste them back into this. And I'm going to say, all right, now how do I want to deal with this when I hit that next break? Well, I'm going to not float them anymore. I'm going to hit none to both of these. And rather than being 50 pixels across, I'm going to say that this should be 100% across the screen. And this one's going to be 100% across the screen. So we'll save that. We'll look at it. We'll come back here. Let's open it back up. We'll refresh it. We'll come in. And when it turns blue, you can see how this image now, that it's filling out to the side tag. And the side is 100%. My content underneath it is also now 100%. And things are looking a little bit more mobile friendly, right? Now, if you guys remember, I did add and I made this special class here called responsive. I said, anything that has this img.responsive right here, this is a really important thing. Okay, this is saying that any image that has a class responsive applied to it, like we have right here with image and this class responsive, make its width go 100% and automatically determine its height. So that's what makes this image just automatically fill out, or it would stay its original image settings. And that might be humongous, that might be really small, but this right here is really important to work with mobile layout. Let's say I don't like this image right here. This image is too big. Okay, I want a smaller image. When it goes mobile, I want an image that might be like half the size right here. So I'm going to go out and look for another Stranger Things images. Okay, we'll pull that up. Let's find one that looks, I don't know, maybe that's a parody. Maybe this one here, okay? So I'm going to open up this image. We're going to save it out to my images directory. We're going to call this one poster 2, and we're going to drop it right there. Okay. Now there is something called the picture tag. All right, the picture tag allows us to change the picture based on certain conditions. And I'll just do that. That's fine. Okay. The way we do this is we say source, then we pull out the media tag again, okay, and now we put in a media query, and we could say something like max width is going to be, let's go with, what do we say, 9,000 pixels, right? And then we use this attribute called source set, and then in here you specify the location of that image. So we're going to say poster2 .jpeg, and then we'll end source. And then you do some others. I mean, if you wanted, you could have like a, an 800 pixel or something in here, and you could add, poster 3 or whatever. But the very last one that you do needs to give that image. Okay, you don't use source for the last one. Let's get rid of this image 3. And the last thing we need to do, I probably should give this a class equals responsive. Spell that right. Okay, so you have multiple sources, then you have your last fallback image that you're going to have, and these all need to be wrapped inside of the picture. And I think that should work. Our responsive class we need to change now. Instead of being image.responsive, we're just going to say responsive. Let's see if that works. Nope, totally didn't work. Let me go look it up and make sure I'm doing this right. Picture, HTML. Maybe that min width instead of max width might have been my issue. Let's check that. Set code looks right. Source set. And then it's got a fallback there. I think that looks right to me. It's not working. Let's look at the demo. I don't know. I need something's funky on there and I don't know what it is. This demo right here, again, as I move my browser bigger and smaller, it's going to change the image for me. And there's a third one right there. And then there's some kind of fallback. You know, maybe I'll add another one of these sources, and that might be poster 2, linking out to the right one. That's linking to the right one. In this case, they're saying I've got the pink flowers if I'm larger than 650. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing this right. If I'm larger than that, we should see 800 here, and then that other poster. I might have some syntax in there wrong, and I'm not catching it, and I'm not seeing where this is. Anyways, look at that. I'm missing something in my syntax. I'm not seeing it, but because we're almost out of time and I still have a lot to cover, I'm just going to skip over this and go back and fix it after the fact. All right. We're going to talk about another item, and this is pretty cool. It's new. It's really new, and it's called Flexbox. And I've never taught it before in 1400, but I think we're to the point where it makes sense to start teaching it. I'm going to go back up into my unordered list. Flexbox is an item that, for example, I have this menu item that goes across, and if I wanted each of these to actually span the width of this whole menu bar, I would have to go through and add more padding until it looked just right, correct? But at times, maybe we have a container. So I'm going to go into my wrapper code here, and I'm going to put in a variable width. So I'm going to say that this is going to be like 90% across the screen. I need to add my colon in there. And if I did manually go through and say that this screen, you know, these are going to span the width, that every time I moved my, browser in and out to a different size, it's never going to actually span the whole width. So Flexbox, what it does is you take a parent, and our parent would wrap around here, essentially our UL, and it's going to look at all of its children and say, I've got 10 kids, look at my width and divide it out across 10 spots. Okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to say on my UL, I'm going to apply the class called Flex. And let's go into that. And I'm going to say that, where's our navigation? All right, I'm just going to, oh, there it is right there. Our nav UL now, it's got some padding above and below it. I might actually just take that off right now. And I'm going to change the display type out to be flex. And right now that's not going to look crazy different other than it's kind of the same. Next thing I need to do is I need to say how wide is each one of these elements going to be. And the way I do that is by changing well, there's a couple things we need to do here. First thing, what we can do is we can say each list item is going to be a width I can give it a specific width. And maybe that was going to be 100 pixels. And so you can see the width of those those, there it is. Okay, you can see, you know, if I had width of 100 pixels, and some of them are going to have to come down, and it looks dumb and doesn't really work really well. But I think a better would be 100%. So they're going to be as big as they possibly can be. And you can see now when I hover over each of these items, they're going to look a little bit better. It might be good to take these items and center them. So I'm going to apply a text align center to each of these. So they look a little bit nicer now. Okay. You can also do, when I kind of get in here a little small, you see when I hit that break point, all of a sudden these are jumping down. I can also take my flex and add what's called the flex direction, and I can make it a column. So now, if that saves, rather than going across, they're going to go vertical. And so rather than applying it here, let's take that flex direction out. And I'm going to make a media query down the bottom that when I hit that first breakpoint, I'm going to change my nav UL. And I don't need to change any of these because they're already declared up above, but I do need to change and add the flex column. So now in here, when we go big and look at it normal, my menu is great. When I come in, it goes flex and goes into a vertical menu that still works just the same as it did before. And I should probably get rid of that body background blue because that looks dumb. You guys with me on this? This is really hard, guys. When you get into your homework assignments, you're going to struggle with this. And when you get into your own client project, and I tell you, you need to make your whole site mobile friendly, you're going to have to make some design decisions on how things are going to move based on these media queries. You almost need to build a new site every time, you know, for the various sizes that you're going into. So let's finish our discussion here. There's another thing out there, and I'm not going to get crazy into this. I'm going to just introduce this, and if anybody wants to go into it and look at it, it's super powerful. But we have this thing called the CSS grid layout. And on this item here, you can see where I have a header, and I have a menu over here, and I have a main and a right and a footer. Well, these items, you can actually break out into a grid if I wanted to. Okay, and I've got 1 through 9, and you can see them all going out. So I change its parent grid container, and I change its display from block or inline block or even flex, now that we've just learned, into something called grid. And you can go out there and you can say, how many columns do I want? Well, I want 3. And the width of each are going to be determined automatically. And then each grid item, as I go down, I'm going to give it a specific thing where I'm going to say, you know, it has some padding and some fonts and things like that. And so it builds out kind of a grid like that, okay? Then from there, you can add other displays. You get the columns and rows if you want to do that. And you can say, you know, how big a gap's going to be, how many lines, you know, whatever you're doing. Anyways, long story short, you can start merging together different cells and doing different things, and you can build a layout using grid. It's a little bit more advanced, and we reserve it for the next class, but it's pretty cool and really powerful. But it's still relatively new on how that works. So we're out of time. Let me see if there's anything else I want to show you guys. Maybe this mobile-friendly test. This would be a really good thing you could do. Take your website when it's done and go look up Google mobile-friendly test and put it in here and run it. And it's going to go through and look at your page and it's going to tell you how close items are together and if it's mobile-friendly. So you can see mine is mobile-friendly, but I do have some issues I need to look at. There's some things that couldn't get loaded, so images/poster.jpg. Maybe that's why I was having some images with that other thing. And some issue with my style sheet I need to look at. I don't know what's up with that. But you shouldn't run your content through here to make sure it's mobile friendly before you turn in your mobile website as well as your final project, and make sure that's mobile. Everybody's going to be doing that here in the not so far distant future. So make sure you guys are really mastering this. Yeah, I think that's it. So any questions? All right, we'll end the video then. Yeah.
On that pixel width, what if like the new Samsung phone width is like 1400 pixels? How does that?
So your text will be brought in as full width, but